Warning, this program may contain language and topics that are not suitable for everyone. Viewer discretion is advised. What is up, Streamland? I am your host. Thank you for checking me out here at JD Unstoppable. I'm JD Rosario from Unstoppable Comics, and I'm joined by a couple of guys tonight who are going to be talking about, well, our topic in the title, continuation bias. Can it derail a comic creator's journey? So, with that being said, let me bring in some of the guys before I talk about what continuation bias is. First of the night.
Man, it's 10 o'clock. It's Tuesday night. I'm awake. I don't know for how long. I'm kind of an old guy. I just turned 49. What are you doing to me?
Yeah, man.
What are you doing to me?
Congratulations. Happy birthday, Marvin. Where you from, brother?
From the Berg, man. Comicsburg.
Okay.
We officially changed the name, and now everybody has to call it Comicsburg, so it's no longer Pittsburgh. So now it's the Comicsburg Steelers, the Comicsburg Pirates, etc.
Okay, nice. So when I drive into the city, the big sign,
yeah,
welcome to Comicsburg. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm with it. All right, cool beans, brother. And joining Marvin and myself tonight is Tom Hutchison. Tom, introduce yourself, brother.
Oh, everybody knows what's going on. It's all right here. All the information is right here. It's me. It's Big Dog Inc. It's the ears. It's the attitude. It's the gruff. It's the real. It's all. It's what you get, man. It's what you get.
You're
and 49, Marvin. I'm 52 this year. So
exciting. Yeah, I'll be here soon.
I'm excited because I'm the baby of the bunch. I'm going to be 48 in a few weeks, so I'll take being the baby.
Oh my God!
It's not often. I got a little too much gray.
We've got him in charge of this show tonight. Jeez. You
might
as well be a millennial.
Gen Z. We'll take that. All right, so guys, in the title we're talking about continuation bias and can it derail a comic creator's journey. Now, I'm wondering if some of the people who are watching tonight, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, listening on Twitter, thank you all, or catching us on the restream. Let me talk about what continuation bias is. I'll define it here for everybody. And continuation bias is the unconscious cognitive bias to continue with the original plan in spite of changing conditions. Some examples of continuation bias for the comic creator community are not knowing when to pivot and maybe sticking with that 100 issue epic instead of looking at other opportunities that could be passing you by. Or maybe remaining with collaborators because they are loyal or maybe affordable. Those are just some examples, guys. Do you have any other ideas of examples of what continuation bias could be for the comic creator community?
Diamond Comics.
Diamond Comics. What? give me a little bit more.
Well, I think that a lot of people view that as a super goal. I want to get my book into the catalog. I want to get a book in the stores.
Okay.
When it's probably not the best path forward. It's a door kicker, but in the climate that we're in right now, it's probably not something that you want to do forever because you're not really going to see a lot of fruit. Is the world.
Yeah, I think he means like just the mindset people get stuck in of like this is the way, to quote a terrible show. I told you it's gruff around here. I told you. But yeah, it's a lot of times, particularly when you're new, you're coming in and you just assume that this is the way it works, right? And to some degree they're right, but what works in 2023 isn't what worked in 2013. And there's other doors and other possibilities and other options for creators in 2023 that didn't exist in 2013. So, a lot of times I will see creators just come through with this energy. Energy is good, but this energy of like, I'm coming into comics. I'm going to get in comic book stores. I'm going to make this next big splash of whatever their splash is. And I look at that and I go, you're out of business in 2 years because you have absolutely no idea how this industry works, and you're going to be gone in 2 years, or maybe less, if you don't see it and take a left turn, which is kind of what we're going to talk about tonight.
All right, so you're talking about spot it or the red flags. What do you guys think some of the red flags are to spotting continuation bias and not going down that rabbit hole?
Oh, I would think sometimes it matters what your goal is in the whole entire realm of this. Are you looking to make a profit? Are you just looking to create? Or are you just having fun? So depending on your set goals, those red flags can pop up really soon on the profit point, because I think that a lot of people get into the mode of not knowing what their market is and not knowing what they can do to get into their ROI. That return on investment is what's going to trip you up, because you get into a situation where you don't know what it's going to cost up front to get that book made.
Okay.
Yeah. The first red flag is the hardest one to recognize within the creative space, because the first red flag is the one that says no one cares about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And that's the hardest red flag to maybe see, but certainly accept. Because if you're coming in again with that energy and you're like, I've got the thing, it's right here, I've got the thing. But if you're doing cons and online and so on, and people are not responding to it, now, like we all talk about, even in TV shows, like sometimes it takes a few episodes for people to get involved. That's fair. But if you're on issue 1 and people are basically like, I don't want this, you got to think about that real fast, because this is where you're sinking your money, right? Whether it's Kickstarter money or just your own money, you're sinking money into this thing. Are they not liking the concept? Are they not liking the art? Are they, is your paper crappy? Immediately start asking yourself, like, what is it? How am I losing these people? And that's the hardest first red flag. And then like Marvin said, it really depends on what you're trying to do. If you're just there to have some fun, you can see all the red flags and just be like, well, look, I'm just making my issue or two and I'm done. But if you're trying to do this from a business standpoint, which is, I think, kind of what we're talking about here for longevity, you have to know when what you're making isn't working. And that's really difficult.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of red flags, let me bring in a red flag who's popping up right now, and somebody who sunk a lot of money into his creative journey. Mr. Calderon, what is up, brother?
That looks like an orange flag to me.
Would it be a yellow flag for a penalty?
It's the great pumpkin, Charlie Brown. He's rocking and rolling tonight.
It's October. I could dress like a pumpkin. What the fuck?
It is not October.
It's not October yet.
Oh shit, September. See, I have so much, continuation, but I don't even know where the fuck I'm at. I'm so messed up. God damn
He
it.
still thinks it's 1992.
So
I wish. Jesus.
I don't know if you've been catching up before you sat down, but we were talking about some of the red flags. Have you spotted any of the red flags that people should know about before they fall down the pitfall and get sucked into continuation bias?
Well, I think the biggest things that we have to watch out for is continuously, we have friends and family who always want us to do well, right? But sometimes when they become your only sounding board, it's the wrong sounding board, because they're always going to motivate you to move you forward, right? Because they're being kind. You understand? But sometimes you need someone like Tom to tell you you're an idiot. Stop doing what you're doing, right? And get on the right track, right? And in different ways to go about that, right?
So, if I'm reading into what you're saying,
if you're just surrounded by yes men, if you're just surrounded by yes men, people who just tell you yes, 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 go, 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 you're probably in the wrong place, you're probably in the wrong place.
That sounds like George Lucas.
Oh,
I mean, say what
cutting
you will. I
deep.
mean,
Cut
if you
it
talk,
deep right there,
well,
baby.
hold on though. His wife, who edited his first 3 movies,
The first wife, right?
the first wife
Yeah.
who edited his first 3 movies was not all yes, yes, yes. She chopped his ass up, literally.
Yes.
No,
She chopped up those 3 movies.
I'm referring to the prequel George Lucas.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately, that wife wasn't there for that one.
Right.
Mhm.
So, all right. Well, coming back to comics, though, it's like, how do we look at that person who is on that 100-issue journey?
Mhm.
And all right, they're at issue number 3, but it's, I don't know, 2.5 years into their journey. Okay.
None of us are going to be here for issue 50, man. You gotta...
Right. So how do you gently tell that creator who is maybe a mentee or somebody within your circles or somebody that's really looking up to you? How do you tell them this is not the path you should be following? Or maybe look at some of the other opportunities that are out there to put a little more seasoning in your skill set before you get back to this.
If you're on issue 3 and it's 2.5 years and you haven't gotten any seasoning, I'm confused. What's going on there? If someone is sitting at the learning tree with you, this conversation should have been had after year 1.
Okay.
I mean, I just see a lot out there because it happens. No one wants to listen. No one wants to be told they're wrong. And for that person to put their ego aside is going to be one of the most important things to ever do in this space. Is you have to say that my ego checks at the door when I come looking for help. And if I'm not willing to put my ego to the side, you don't want help. You just want a sounding board, like you said before, of for you to tell someone that their stuff is awesome and to keep it rolling.
Okay.
Yeah, screw you guys. I'm doing 100 issues of Critter. Screw you all. I'm doing it. It's the plan. I came in with that plan. It's happening. It's happening. I'm not giving up on it. But here's what I tell the creator. All right. Keep your 100-issue plan. That's fine. But you got to do it in chunks. Right? You got to say, okay, we're coming in with 5 issues. We're going to do that story. We're in, we're out, we're done. Okay, now we're going to do 5 more. Now we're going to do 5 more. If you can make that work through your 100 issues, awesome. But if not, you've at least got these pockets of storytelling that are complete essentially, right? Because each arc is an arc. So even if you make it to issue 50, and then you're done, whether you run out of money or you're dead, you've at least accomplished something. But if you come in and you're like, yeah, it's 1 through 100 and we're going to do 2 issues a year, like you're never going to get there. You've got to reset your strategy for how to get your story out into the world. So
you're looking at maybe the Mignola approach with Hellboy, right? Or
right,
the Calderon approach with Oswald, because I mean, in total, how many issues of Oswald have you put out so far?
That's a good question. I don't keep count. Last I counted, it was about 36.
36, but you have them broken up into arcs, right?
Yeah.
And those arcs allow you time to work on other content, right?
Well, of course.
Excuse me, the gaps between the arcs.
Right. Usually what it is, the reason I broke it down, initially the concept of Oswald was to be single stories. And the story wasn't supposed to be about him. It was supposed to be about other characters. And it would be these stories about these other characters that he would be retelling because he's a storyteller. He's a writer, right? He's a scribe. So that was the original idea. And then it just morphed into this other crazy, insane thing. So.
Okay. All right.
That's always the goal, though, for things to morph. You never want things to stay static. It's always expansion and escalation and all.
Right. Now, we got a couple comments here. Russ Cassidy, I have to deal with this all of the time when new creators ask for help with crowdfunding.
Right, but are they listening? Are they listening?
No, a lot of times we're and that's why I'm having this conversation tonight, because there's a lot of people who are not listening. All right. And he comes back with, and I look at their book and I have to tell them, comics are not a get-rich scheme, right? Marilyn loves your face.
Thank you, Marilyn. Love your face too.
He's the only one tonight that's clean-shaven, Marilyn. And we got Daphne here, the smartest person not in the room with us tonight. Too many people want to do 100 issues when they don't even know how to write issue number 1.
Right. So, I mean, as a creator, and I've been told this before, is that you write the beginning, you write the end, and then you write the beginning.
Okay.
Finish the book before you start the book, because you have to have an end. It just can't go forever. There has to be a goal at the end where character A defeats character B, and then everybody walks away. It just can't go on. It can't be Spider-Man, X-Men, G.I. Joe, Transformers, where the story just goes on forever. It has
no
to be
third act.
Yeah, it has to be something has to end it. It's like the same thing, like just to jump on movies again, where they want to do another John Wick movie. When does it end?
It was supposed to be 5 movies initially.
Yeah. But I mean,
Keanu was like, we kind of think we got it done in the 4th one, but
right.
Listen, I love him, but he was looking a little long in the tooth when he was doing some of those roles.
Eventually Rambo has to walk into the sunset and go away.
Yeah, no, I can't even watch the last Rambo. but we were mentioning this in the green room before. So, what part of continuation bias is ego? What part of it is stubbornness? What part of it is just not ready yet?
Well, I mean, in most instances, the immaturity of something is where the ego comes from. Like if I'm very immature about things, I look at the world as a youngster looks at a world where everything is mine and I'm invincible, then that ego is always going to come to the forefront because you know everything. So why are you asking me?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with Marvin.
The gears are turning. I can see him through Tom's eyes. I can see the gears.
Well, that's because I still sit with the chip on my shoulder from when I started this whole thing. When 6 publishers ignored me from when I pitched my stuff to them, and in fairness to those publishers, I wasn't ready at all. Like the stuff that I pitched to them, it was too raw. It was not finessed enough. It was not good enough. I can look back and say they were right. Mm-hmm. It would have been nice to at least have gotten a look, you're not ready, dude, or you need to fix this, or just something, right? But because I got absolute radio silence, the chip went squarely on the shoulder. And I was like, look, man,
how many of those publishers are around?
Not interested in your bullshit. I think I can do this. And I took my shot, right? And here I am 13 years later, still doing this. This is what I do for a living is comics. So again, even the stuff that I put out, in fact, it's funny because I just got tracking today that the new Penny for Your Soul hardcovers are coming out, or they're going to be here on Thursday. And what we did is we went back into the original book that we put out 13 years ago. And I went back through the scripts and I was like, this is all terrible. So I'm going to fix it. Because I can write now. I couldn't write 13 years ago, but I can write now. And so we cleaned up all the lettering. We fixed grammar problem. Like it's clean now. And we're putting it back out. But as I was going back through those books that I hadn't really looked at in a decade, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is not great. How in the world did I survive this mediocrity that I produced? And I think the answer is conceptually it worked, right? So even though people were reading it and probably were like, this is not the best writing on the planet, conceptually it worked. And they were interested in how the world was going to work. And so it sold really well. And we put out another issue. And it was like, well, Jesus Christ, we were off to the races. So that's where it's really, really difficult to say, is this working? It wasn't even was working, because it was working. The question was, why was it working? Because this is not good. Like I'm telling you, it was not great writing back then, but because it was working well enough, we were like, yeah, do another one. Let's get this 7-issue arc done, which we did in basically a year and a half because we were putting out every 2 months. And by the time we got to the end of it, it was like, Jesus Christ, like people like this book. And at that point, the chip was glowing, like,
Right.
I got you guys. I got you. And we kept going.
That chip is strong. And Marvin brought up a point, right? He said, how many of those publishers that you submitted to, right, that you approach with your work are still around today? And if they're not, how much does that reinforce the chip on your shoulder?
Yeah.
Right?
They're all there, but there are a few that are, I would even say, below us at this point now because they produce less content. We produce more content than some of them, but I pitched to the normal people, right? Image Comics and whoever it was at the time. So I did it the way I was supposed to do it. Again, this is the way it works, right? Except it didn't work for me. Again, for a reason, for cause. But that was where the chip came from, and then from the chip, it became, I know how to do this myself. And even though I still really didn't, I was still learning literally every year of my existence. I was learning something else until we finally got picked up by Aspen. And then I learned a whole new set of things where I was like, Jesus, I didn't know anything. Aspen taught me a lot. And then we came out of Aspen with a completely different mindset. And we've been doing crowdfunding now for almost 7 years. So, the chip, man, don't be afraid of the chip.
So, Calderon, how long has that chip been on your shoulder and kept you going in spite of maybe looking at other avenues that were brought to your doorstep?
I mean, it all depends on what avenues you're talking about, right? Like I've said before, I worked professionally in the 90s as a writer. I know people up in Marvel and DC. I probably could have gone up there and begged for a job. I mean, begged, and maybe I could have gotten one. You understand? Maybe I could still get one.
Okay.
It doesn't interest me. It holds no interest in me.
Okay.
The chip has always been a thing about just wanting to do my thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not interested in what's the market trending to. I'm not interested in what's selling. I'm not interested in what is going to make me the most money. I'm interested in telling the story I want to tell. That's the chip on my shoulder.
Okay.
Got a lot of people telling me a lot of stuff about, oh, you should do this to make money. You should do this to make money. You should do this. You understand? You're only successful if you make money, right? Got a lot of heads telling you that stuff.
Right.
And it's like, no, you're successful if you do good work that people come back for time and again for. Okay? Like I tell Jay all the time is I don't want to be at a table to sell my book. I want to be able to put my book on a table, have that book sold, have someone come back and say, yo, where's the second issue, bro? And I've had publishers, I've had distributors, publishers, and retailers tell me that's exactly what happens. That's success in my book. Selling it, that's fantastic. But look, I made the point the other day on my show. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson could come out, put out the crappiest comic book in the universe, and sell $1 million or $1 million worth of that book just on his name. Does it mean it's a great book? No. It just means he's famous. That's what that means. Right? There you go. You understand?
Right. Yeah, no.
There are plenty of dudes who make great work, and where are they?
Go
right?
Unacknowledged. Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, most of the original Image stuff is unreadable. But at the time, those guys are the top of the list, right? And so they sold based off of their names without any question.
Yeah, we could probably sit here for days and just with Youngblood. Just with Youngblood.
You weren't a fan?
Oh, my gosh.
Listen, the day I heard Todd McFarlane say, man, I just take those pages and I throw them up in the air, and however they land, that's the order they're going to be in. Whatever.
No, I get it. 5 issues in 5 years. It's great. So Daphne comes out I've met so many people talking about their epic, but keep redoing their issue number one because they don't know where their story is going and keep making changes.
Exactly. I mean,
Yes.
if the story's going nowhere, then what are you doing?
And that goes back to the arc, right? Is don't worry about 1 through 100, figure out 1 through 5,
right?
And then figure out 6 through 10, and you can create more compact stories within your larger universe.
I think you're giving too much credit to some of the people. Figure out 1 to 2.
Actually,
I'm curious.
What's more important, I think, even more important than that, is to write a one shot.
Mm-hmm.
Write that one shot. Write that one shot.
I will tell you that writing a single issue, short story, or even like just a one issue, like 20 pages, that kicks my ass. Because I am so ingrained in the long form storytelling that when I had to come back around and start doing like a couple of one shots, I was like, this is impossible. But I forced myself to figure out how to do it, and then I challenged myself even further. How do you tell a short story like 8 pages? And I'm just like,
I've tried.
It's so hard.
I can't. So I could do 2 8-pagers. 2 backups. I can't.
I can tell that
it's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard.
So
I tried to do 3-page stories, and
damn.
Yeah.
See, I've done 3-page stories, but only in the context of like 7 of them working together, so it's still one issue essentially. So I cheated.
That's cheated, yeah. No, but as a writing exercise, I do something called the 100 Artist Projects, where I'll do 1-pager, 2 pages, 3 pages, 8 pages, 6 pages, 4 pages. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
And I just try to construct stories like that, so then I can work with a bunch of different artists.
Yeah. All right. Let me. We got a lot of comments over here. Let me acknowledge the people that are spending some of this time with us tonight, guys. After spending 20 years working on Tall Tales, I made it a point with Eagle Raven that it was going to be 15 issues, and I'm going to finish it within 5 years. Halfway through issue number 8 right now. Got on to Comics says I got my copies of Critter 1 and 2 in a bookstore close by. Somehow it managed to make it all the way here in Colombia.
Colombia, like South America?
Dude, I am learning Colombia is so indie friendly. That is where you can go and shine. That's a whole other discussion, but the teams that I'm working with out there, because none of the bigger companies are going down there, stepping foot out there at all. And there's so much untapped talent. These folks are out there doing their own little mini cons the old way, right? Fanzines, ash cans, whatever they can do, get it out there, and making quality product. So if you made it to Columbia, fuck yeah, bro, your stuff is doing good, man.
It's amazing.
I'm glad I never bought it with publishers. I'd rather create my own complexes through Kickstarter.
Yeah, there's plenty of them.
Right? The goal is to have people love my book so much they do my selling for me through word of mouth. Way to be on that. Great. Yes. And Champ, I'm up to what JD said. You as a creative artist should not be also the same guy selling the books. I get that people like conventions, but there should be a specialized person in making those sales. If you can afford those people to travel to the conventions with you to make those sales. And then we got Draw and Talk. It's definitely balanced. You want to be able to sell via your name and also have the story be good enough that they come back because of the story, not just the creator. Yes, you want to get to that point. Man, I can't do one shots. I suck on them. My max one shot is like 60 days.
Yeah, but Tyler did like an 80-page fight scene in his last book. So,
The reason why I try to make short stories on the side is just to get in the habit of being able to make 4, 8, 16-page stories. Way to be on that. That's smart, Daphne. I should do that a lot more. Paul Gomez, first book, one shot, 22-page. Second book, first of a 12-issue, 30-page. Third book, 22 pages. 3 issues done. 2, 4, 8 pages stories in between. Okay. All right. And it's a little loving in the comment section. But all right. So that's one of the examples. We're going deep. one of the other examples that I showed over here was remaining with collaborators because they are loyal and affordable, right? Sometimes your teammates may be the ones holding you back.
Yep.
But you can
or not even holding you back, but
hold
potentially creating negative energy.
I reached out to Arthur Adams. He told me he was booked up.
That's because he's doing a cover for me, JD.
Some bitch. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna get Fabio again. I'm gonna get Fabio again.
Way to be if you landed that one.
Nice.
But it's like sometimes people aren't going to match your drive, right? Your ambition, you're leveling up, and maybe they don't level up to the point where you're at right now.
Yep.
But because they were with you from the beginning, they're the ones who brought you to the dance. You decide to keep dancing with them, even though there's other dance partners who are waiting to grab your hand. How do you
gently let go?
How do you gently let go?
You do it like
you take a hatchet.
That's it. Somebody had to say it. That's it.
You take a hatchet and you chop it off. Because unfortunately, that's what it is.
Hit that block button.
It really, honestly, it depends, right? Because sometimes there's, like you said, some people just aren't leveling up, and it's like, dude, the audience that I have is not interested in what you're doing, and you can kind of have that hard talk and be like, I want to keep working with you. We're going to figure something out, but I can't keep putting you on everything that I do because we're not seeing the reaction, right? And sales will tell you, hey, this guy sold 50 copies. He sold 3. Like, we have to take that into account, right? But then there's also times where artists will bring negative energy and do the job for yourself. I had a couple of okay, I got to be really careful here. There's been some artists who have decided to present ultimatums to me. There have been artists who have attacked some of my other artists in public threads, like on Facebook and so on. And neither of those things works, folks. Trust me, neither of those things work. That is an immediate hatchet job. But there's a lot. I have worked with hundreds of people, and I have tried to, pull along some of the guys that are not within the name realm of some of the other guys that I work with. But sales is the ultimate determining factor, unfortunately. And, sometimes maybe you're not going to be great for covers, right? But maybe we could do a pinup for the inside of a book, or maybe we could have you do just some trading card art that we can just give away for free. So you're still involved in what we do, but just in a different context. And then maybe through that, you're giving that guy time to sort of level himself up and keep doing it, keep drawing your characters and get used to it. And like that. So it's hard to do, but it's got to be done sometimes.
Okay. What do you guys think? What's up, Marvin?
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
I mean, it just really doesn't make sense to just drag somebody along with you if you're not not comfortable with them, or it's not working.
So let me adjust then the concept. All right. You found that artist that is at your level, but that creator is taking months to finish 22 pages, right? This is a common thing. I feel we've all gone through this. If not, we'll go through this at some point. That creator's taken months to finish 22 pages. You've invested X amount of dollars into that already. Now you've leveled up to a point where, you know what? You can't have pages 1, 3, and 7 be one artist, 2, 6, and 9 be another artist, and then somebody else to complete the rest of the product, right? That's not what you're presenting to your consumer base.
Right.
But you've gone past the halfway point. Do you continue with that creator to finish the product, which may screw with your whole release schedule, or do you cut them off, chalk up that money to a loss, and start again with somebody fresh?
Is this artist someone that you worked with before and you're aware that they are slow?
Maybe you have worked with them before, but they were not slow the first time.
Okay. So
but also, did you set terms before they started on the project? Did you say I need 2 pages a week, or I need 3 pages a week?
Okay, that's a way to avoid those pitfalls, right?
Yeah,
that's
but even
that's
the argument becomes like, what if he's on issue 10 out of 20? Are you going to be like, cut it off and get somebody to finish the book? And let me tell you right now, at this point, because I've dealt with this many times, I shouldn't say I will never, but I will almost never have someone else finish the book again, ever. Because when the book is finished, particularly within the context of like a trade paperback, one issue is kind of one issue, but within a trade paperback, when the styles change through a trade paperback, it stabs me in the heart, because I'm like, God damn, this looks great. And not to say that the fill-in guy isn't great, right? But it changes and the whole tone of the thing changes. It's like, oh, fuck, why couldn't I just have that clean, finished thing and then be like, look, it's done. You're out of here. You're not coming back now. But at least I have this quality product that is my evergreen product, right? Because this stuff, you have to think about the evergreen part of this, doing trade paperbacks, collected editions, and so on. If that stuff looks wonky, that's problematic. So obviously there's at some point there's a cutoff, right? If it's just like, Jesus Christ, dude, it's been a year, like finish the 10 pages, you got to figure something out. But most of the time late is not astronomically late. It's just behind. And if that's the case, I would just be like, look, we're going to finish this. And then we're going to, sweep you under the rug.
Is it because they're behind, or because they took another booking in between?
Yeah, and I mean that could be anything. I mean, I've had both answers told to me. Yeah.
Okay, Calvin, I'm sorry.
I shared something with you. You can pull it up just to illustrate something I want to show you. Let's about these 2 pages are the same exact story, the first page of the same story, both drawn by the same artist, Jade Gonzalez.
Okay.
The one on the left is the original. This was probably illustrated 8 or 9 years ago. The one on the right is being redone now. Okay. So if you look at them, you can tell the difference. She's grown as an artist.
Okay.
So sometimes the artist will grow with you.
Okay.
So I've invested a lot of time and effort and energy in this artist, and she has also invested a lot of time, effort, and energy in me. And a good friend of mine paid me the courtesy. He said, listen, that first issue, right, doesn't match up to the rest of the story, because this leads into another 7-part story, right? And he's like, that looks way better because it was done years later. So he's just like, there's a difference in styles and it's just not as good. And I was just like, you know what, you're right. So I spoke to her. We're taking the time out of doing the other stuff that we're doing. And I said, let's work on this. It's a shorter story. It's only 24 pages. So, there it is. But I think that goes to illustrate sometimes, you can go out and, still be with the same person for a long period of time.
Okay.
And that person can grow with you.
And I think that's an amazing thing. I also think that's few and far between in our circles. So the fact that you got that is magic, man.
Right.
Yeah. It's of the guys that I started with 13 years ago, one of them is still with me as far as like interior art and stuff. One, and that's JB Netto, my original guy on Penny for Your Soul. Everybody else that has worked on all the other books for any period of time is all gone. And I've had to replace them, and I'm not happy about that. But that's comics, man. I mean, everybody gets replaced, but I've been lucky to have artists go on some long runs with me, which is really great. And then when you have to do that switcheroo, it's kind of really hard to do.
Marvin,
let
you've
me
been
ask
lucky
you-
with that too. Marvin has been working with his dude for what, 18 issues now?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
He's done every book Mark has done. So
Nice.
I mean, that's they said that's lucky. I wish I could get my colorist on every book, but I mean,
I get it. But that's magic too, dude.
Yeah.
That's magic, man. You know?
yeah, I mean, it's got to be hard because I've seen like some other indie books where it's a different artist on every book.
Right.
Every issue is someone different, and like you said, it breaks up the flow of the book because then you get like it's like the Wolverine thing with the claws. Like they're never the same who's drawing it. They look sometimes look like knives, sometimes they look like skewers, and it's the inconsistency and the lack of what you want to do with the character that changes along the way. You're like, okay, this guy originally he had a string on his mask. Now he doesn't have a string on his mask because the artist doesn't want to draw a string on the mask. So
Yeah, it's fun, dude. You guys have these awesome experiences, and with one of my books, New York versus the World, it's a different artist in every issue, right? And at this point, I don't want it to be consistent. It is an anthology tale, a zombie tale in different parts of the city. So each one is a one shot. It's self-contained, right? There's a B plot to all of it, but there is still a different artist for each issue.
But sometimes that's a selling point. Sometimes you can create a narrative where that is important to the narrative, where you have a different artist, especially if you can pinpoint them. You can be like, okay, this person draws in this style, this person draws in this style, and I'm going to tell this story in this narrative that will fit that style.
So there was a game that came out a few years back, Dante's Inferno. I don't know if anybody played it or seen it. So they did an anime of the game, and each chapter was done by a different art team, and it doesn't work because each one of them draws the character differently, including like not only the character but his companions they're all different in each one. And you're like, this doesn't work for me, and it throws you off, and it just doesn't look or feel right when that kind of stuff.
It's like having different actors in every episode.
Right.
Well, I think that it could work, but if your characters are changing to the point where they don't look like, if the costume is changing in every time, like then it's going to be weird. But particularly in a thing like Dante's Inferno, you could easily have different art styles throughout all of the different, thing. I mean, you're walking through hell. I mean, everything could look different. But if your dudes themselves are changing, like if Indiana Jones is going through Dante's Inferno, he needs to be Indiana Jones all the way through, regardless of, whatever else is happening. So
you guys get to check it out. It's on Tubi or one of the free services, and I was really looking forward to it. I'm like,
you push that Tubi, brother. They got to start sponsoring you. You got to start wearing their shirts like a soccer player. Let me get to some of these comments here again, guys. Pedro Felipe Moreno Carvajal, yeah, I pronounced it right. Comes to us with the need to tell good stories have no nationality. What is difficult at first is to take the opportunity to tell them. Granda, in the past, convention were the place to get an audience as an indie artist. That's what social media is for. Today, conventions should be for handshakes and getting a real interaction with the artist. Walk with lame men and you learn to limp. I got a limp, baby. The sales should be made before the convention start. Okay. If they take too much time, cut them off. There's a difference between a slow artist and an irresponsible artist. You can work around a slow artist. Way to be. This kind of reminds me about the Black Panther movie. It didn't continue because of Chadwick's demise, but the character is way more important than the actor. Same with comics. The important thing should be the story, not the artist. Don't know if I said it right. Anyway, if you have to replace the artist, go ahead. The public, I think, is not as bothered by that as we as creators. Okay.
Oh, that's false. That's false.
Yeah.
So that's wildly false.
Can I get the first one and then you can take
you go ahead? Yeah, that's a wildly false
comment here, and then we could go to town on that. Okay. All right. We really didn't find our groove on Tall Tales until issue number 4, and that's on top of all the work we did. that didn't get published. Okay.
So
All right. So
the
the first
best,
part. Who was taking the first part?
yeah, I got that one.
Okay.
So just to address this is that in the comic book realm, the artist is kind of the driving force behind that. Image wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane. No one cared who the writers were on those books. No one cared. They just were there for the art.
Until Alan Moore brought up his ugly head
and started doing Supreme.
Right. But when they Image started, it was Jim Lee, right? These guys out in front. Like, who were the writers at Image?
And you know what?
It was them.
Who chimed in first? Alan Moore with Supreme or Neil Gaiman with Spawn?
No, it was Alan Moore over at Spawn.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Moore did Spawn first?
No,
No.
Angela came first. Alan Moore was one of the later ones, but Alan Moore was the guy that was like, "Who the fuck's writing this shit?"
Right, because he did Wildcats, right? For a while.
Wildcats, yeah. He did a lot of Wildstorm stuff, yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot of Wildstorm stuff. That's how he ended up doing ABC Comics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ended up at DC.
Again, which he didn't want. All right, and Tom, you were going to take the second part. Now,
Yep.
I want to, full disclosure here. Jeff is part of my team, so go a little easy.
No, I'm not ragging on him. It's a rational thought process, right? But it is wrong, and okay. I even have specific personal rationalization that it's wrong.
Go for
because
it.
It's happened to me. So
his comment was, "Go ahead. The public, I think, is not as bothered by that as we as creators."
Yeah. Now, specifically, we're talking artists here. Now, when we were talking earlier, we were a little more specific on like colorists and stuff, but he's talking about the artist, and that's what we're talking about. I think you can change colorists and you can kind of get away with it to some degree. But when you change from, let's say, Todd McFarlane to some guy they find at Comic-Con, that's a dramatic difference, right? And we've seen this in comics before, where a particular artist will do so many issues, they'll leave, somebody new will come in, and sales will fall right off. People will be like, "Who the fuck is this guy? I'm not here for this artist," or it's so dramatically different from what I liked, I'm not buying this book. And that kind of thing has happened to me. I've had fill-in issues of books where the artist that I had for the fill-in is so wildly different than the normal issue that I've literally had people say, "Yeah, I didn't like that at all. I came back when the guy came back, the regular guy, but I didn't like that issue at all because it was so different." It wasn't that it was bad art. It was just, it was so different from what they were used to. Right. And so anytime you are changing an artist, and this is whether it's indies, whether it's Marvel, DC, whatever, anytime you're changing an artist, you risk the possibility of alienating the readers that you already have. There was a time I remember for me personally, and this is gonna suck, but it's a reality. So I was a big Invincible fan, right? And Cory Walker was the artist on the original Invincible. And I didn't love the art. It was okay. But when Ryan Ottley came on, everything changed. And I was like, holy crap, this is something. But every now and then they'd bring Cory back to do some fill-in issues. And every time Cory did the fill-in issues, I'd be like, I guess it's fine, but can we get back to Ryan quickly, please?
Right.
Because they're just not the same level of artist, right? And so it's a real thing, and you have to be careful when you change artists. It's a tricky thing because in your brain, your first thing you should be like, well, let me get somebody that's similar to what we have, especially if it's going to be a long-term fill-in, right? But at the same time, you don't want someone to be forced to imitate what kind of came before. You want them to be able to do what they do. So you kind of have to look at something as like, okay, I need a new artist, but I need a new artist that's going to bring a fresh artistic take to this. But that something that I think that, the fans are going to like. And sometimes that's hard to do. Right. It's very hard to do because there's just not enough dudes that do interiors specifically, right? So sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. But switching an artist out, even for one issue, it can put a drag on what's happening.
I remember something to the effect that Marvel used to have a bonus when artists would keep going 3 issues or more. a bonus would start to kick in,
Sure,
so they
yeah.
could stay on the title, right?
Yeah.
And when they were off, well, then they lost that bonus. I think the biggest thing was when Byrne did the Baron Blood Captain America story. There was a fill-in issue done because the editor did not think that they were going to be able to keep up the schedule. So, because they're running the business, right? Slotted that fill-in issue because he was worried they were going to not hit their deadlines. And when they did, and the fill-in issue came out, when it was time for them to continue, they were like, "Fuck it, I'm off the book."
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then you had that X-Men. You went from Jim Lee leaving, you brought in Art Thibert, who very similar to Jim Lee, to Andy Kubert, and the sales were there.
For Andy or for Art?
For Andy. I mean, because Art is very close to Jim Lee, so unless someone looked, they probably wouldn't have really noticed that he was gone.
Okay.
Yeah, Art used to ink some of Jim Lee's stuff, so they were kind of, simpatico.
So, Andy took over the second X-Men book, right? And Adam did the Wolverine stuff.
Yeah,
that Wolverine stuff was fucking great.
There was also the time a little bit earlier on where Mike Mignola and John Byrne swapped books. So John Byrne went from Alpha Flight to Hulk, and Mike Mignola went from Hulk to Alpha Flight.
Right? Yeah, and those Alpha Flight issues are not that great.
I've got them. I've got them.
I used to have them. I don't know. I might still have.
They were right after the Byrne issues. They were maybe one or two, and then they went into the Mignola stuff, and I was like, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you see Byrne go into Hulk, right? He did like 2 or 3 really epic issues.
Right. But see, here's the thing. Mignola on Alpha Flight, no. Mignola on Hellboy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what we're saying, right? The artist has to fit what the book is. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, also, Mike Mignola on Cosmic Odyssey, man. Awesome. Incredible. I don't know if you remember it. Jim Starlin written.
I never read it. All right, so we get a little bit of pushback from Champe here. I need changed by someone who draws like the former one, not a radically different tone.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit.
The house style. So like with
their house style.
Yes, we had a bunch of very similar artists like Brett Booth and J. Scott Campbell, and
that's right.
A few of those guys who stepped in for Jim Lee, and no one really noticed the difference because they didn't look. They thought, oh, it's just Jim Lee's continuing on, but no, just some guy with a house style.
Yeah.
All right. And Daphne says AI has shown us the average person doesn't give a crap about wonky art, but that doesn't mean we get to lower our artistic expectations because the average person likes eating every gray slop. Eating gray slop.
The average person, though, isn't buying comic books. So AI is appealing to a completely different audience.
But drop the fear of not continuing your story because you have an irresponsible guy or girl there. Right?
That's 100% true. Yeah. 100%.
And the other thing is that you guys are talking about high-level artists being replaced in mainstream companies. But we are new people. Nobody is still a fan of new artists. So if you have a slow guy, change him.
In the what? With a magic wand?
Yeah.
Jim Lee.
After they finish the book, you move on to the book.
Right.
That's when you hit the block button, right?
Just finish the damn arc, and then I can get somebody new. Yeah.
That's it, right? But that is, the red flag. That's a red flag when it comes to continuation bias, right? Do you stick with them? Do you stick with them? Do you stick with them? And you find you're fighting with yourself more than not.
So it's like Superman 3.
You're gonna invoke. So we got JD invoking Cosmic Odyssey, and we got Superman 3 up here. Like, can we talk about anything with a little quality to it, please?
You don't like Cosmic Odyssey? Come on.
Nobody likes Cosmic Odyssey, JD.
That's an awesome book.
That's in the quarter bins for the last 30 years. Nobody cared about it.
Yes, but it's awesome because of it.
It's supposed to be Brainiac. Richard Pryor was going to be Brainiac in Superman 3.
Richard Pryor was supposed to be Brainiac. Richard Pryor was also supposed to be in Blazing Saddles. But listen, at least nobody's bringing up Amalgam. So we're having a good night. We're having a good night.
True.
So all right, I brought up 2 examples that I had of continuation bias, right? And it could be associated with that little slip of confirmation bias. When Calderon, you brought up the yes men, right?
Right.
So is it something that new creators should look at if they're getting more support from the household than they are from the community or from the convention circuit or from the crowdfunding circuit?
Well, first of all, you should try to find the community, because you're going to always start off with that insular thing, right? And you need to break out. You need to try to find other people who are in the business and get some mentorship, whether it could be from anyone who's been in business for a while, who you respect, and then just, see where it takes you from there. But you definitely need to step outside of that bubble, that comfort zone.
I mean, unless you got a rich uncle who's going to buy all your stuff, then who cares?
Well, for that, he just
Angel
gives you the money.
investors change the game, but none of us have that. So.
Right. I wish I did. So,
right. I mean, like I said, you do need to search out the community. This is why there's these Facebook groups, and I wish that they had better people in them to help along the way. I mean, there's some of these groups have 10,000 people in it, and I wish that 10,000 people actually participated in these discussions and things that go on. And it seems like that it's oftentimes where it depends on what gets posted and who you tag in a post, or who tags themselves in the post, or who responds, to get that chain of 100 responses coming out on things like that sometimes, where it's like, oh, you get 3 or 4 on this one, but if it's something a little controversial, then you get thousands of people wanting to respond to it.
Controversy is how you trigger the audience.
Negging,
that's
right?
the reality, unfortunately, but that's what it is.
Right. So do you guys think it's more important for us as seasoned creators to take to platforms like this, where we get to share our experience in context and not maybe take a mentee under our wing, or tout our experience in for us?
I just thought we were here bitching and moaning and howling at the moon.
I mean,
get off my lawn.
After you mow it first, you got to mow the lawn, then you get off of it.
Well,
I run into people at conventions all the time that say that I want to do comics, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I give them my information. Some have reached out, some have not, and I'm really willing to respond to anybody who has to ask a question. But like I said before, is that you got to let the ego out, leave it behind, because it's not going to help you. And if you're talking to me, because I've been here and I know what's going on, and I'm just not going to sit there and let you tell me what you think you know, because you don't.
Well, they can tell you, but then you got to tell them that they're wrong.
Yeah,
that's the thing, is you got to be able to tell someone, like, you're living in a decade ago, like you need to catch up to now, because way too many people are literally living in like 2013. And it was a different world back then.
I'm telling them to put that chip in your pocket for a little bit, because it's not going to help you right now.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, I mean, and I always talk to people at cons, and there's only been a couple of times where I've run into some meatballs. Most of the time, people are legitimately like, hey, this is the piece of the pie that I need to know about. And I'm like, okay, well, let me tell you about that piece through my experience. And most of the time people are like, oh, wow, that's a great, piece of information. Let me digest that. And I can't even tell you how many people message me on Facebook, because they know I live there. And they're just like, yo, can I show you my script? Can I show you can you tell me if this is good or not, or whatever? And I'm like, I can tell you, but I'm going to tell you, like, you are aware, I'm going to tell you. And they're like, yeah. Okay.
You got to flash disclaimer across the screen.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, I help. I mean, I don't even know how many messages I answer in a month. And of the people that I write back, I would say it's probably 50-50 that I even hear back from those guys. And the ones that do come back are like, oh, thank you, I didn't even think about this or that or whatever it is. And then the other 50% just ghost, and they're gone. So, I like talking to people at cons, because I feel like I have a sense of whether they're really real or whether they're just kind of coming in here on their ice skates, like, I'm going to make my 100-issue epic. No, you're not. But, then there's the other guys that are like, tell me how to make this 100-issue epic. And I'm like, okay, now we can talk about, breaking this down into pieces and attacking it from different angles.
I mean, it's not a problem to shoot for Mars as long as you're willing to land on the moon first.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then here we got Daphne coming back in. The problem with a lot of these groups is that people want you to help them, but not return the favor. Also, there's a difference between wanting actual critique and just wanting validation. Yes, but I wanna tweak what Daphne said over here for a second. The problem with a lot of these groups is that people want you to help them. I want to change that to people want you to do it for them.
Correct. Correct.
And not do it themselves.
Yeah. They want all of the answers that you've taken a decade to figure out, laid out in a battle plan for them. How do I do this? This. Yeah.
So I've got that clip from the Matrix say where Morpheus tells Neo, I can only show you the door. I just send that to people. Just make it easier. I can only show you have to walk through it.
There are certain individuals who make tens of thousands of dollars laying it out for people and charging for it.
Yes, but are they comic book creators, or are they the ones who teach Jim? Right? What is it? Those who can't do teach. Those who can't teach Jim. Blow
the whistle.
And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna be blowing the whistle on tonight. I want to thank Tom, JD, Marvin for hanging with me, sharing their wise, sage, and seasoned wisdom. And guys, you wanna let everybody know where they can find you, Tom?
Yeah, like I said, I live on Facebook here, so I'm always here. Everything we do kind of starts here and then filters out to Instagram, Twitter, BDI Comics there. Also TikTok, BDI Comics is there. We have a Patreon as well, patreon.com/Big Dog Inc. And we'll be at where the hell am I going? I'm going somewhere next week. Oh, we're going to Monroe Pop Fest down in Detroit. Not this weekend. This weekend's Baltimore. A lot of people are going there, but the following week I'll be in Detroit, and then in October I'm going down to Indianapolis for Fantastic Con, and then I'll be at Akron with CB Zane the first weekend in November.
Cool. Are you going to be at Baltimore?
Nope. I was going to go, but because all my trade paperbacks are showing up Thursday, I got no time for cons. Got to start shipping out books.
There you go, baby. There you go. The work never stops. Calderon, where can they find you, brother?
Like Tom, on Facebook, occasionally on Sundays on YouTube, and theoswaldchronicles.com, talltalesonline.com, and primarily you can find me on Kickstarter, where you will find the Oswald Chronicles currently running for the next 60 hours, and Magi's Grace, which is running for the next 21 days. So you can go check those out.
Okay. Marvin, where can they find you, brother?
You can find me at The Edge Comic on all the popular platforms, including X. I will be. Sorry, I had to do it.
Yeah. Did you have to?
Yeah, I had to. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I
will be at
to us for yourself.
Is that X? Is that Wakanda Forever? Is that Wonder Woman?
No, Wakanda Forever. That's Wakanda.
Oh, across the chest.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Where am I? Oh, I won't be at Baltimore this weekend. I will be at Erie Con this weekend. Yeah, that's it. Or this.
There you go.
Okay, and you can catch me at unstoppablecomics.com. I will be at New York Comic Con in October, so come see me at booth 1948. And like Calderon, I have a campaign going for Limbo, open almost all eternity. It's got 3 more days left on Kickstarter, and I hope I see you guys there and here at Jay the Unstoppable, where we share our creators' information with you guys out there who are looking to get a leg up. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight, and I hope you join us again.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you. Deuces.
Deuces.
I got a bumper.
But it still has that big